Welcome to section 2.13, creating an action plan and prioritizing tasks. Action plans are a very important part of the foreclosure prevention process. And that's for several reasons. But the main reason, A, is because HUD requires it. So if you are a HUD approved, HUD funded agency, you want to make sure that you are completing your action plans. But B, another really important reason is because it holds everybody accountable. Um, so often I think our clients, and I don't think it's done intentionally, but they hear bits and pieces of what we're saying. I mean, they're under a lot of stress and emotional distress, and so it's not that they intend not to hear everything we say, but that just happens. And so the action plan kind of reinforces what was said during the counseling session. So, an action plan is created to outline the task that needs to be completed within a realistic timeline. It's to inform clients that this may be a lengthy and time-consuming process. As well, any changes in income or debts are important and must be reported immediately by the client. So that's something that definitely should go on the action plan. Clients should be fully involved in this process. Absolutely. We shouldn't be just writing out, this is what has to happen and I'm going to take care of it. I know we want to sometimes, we feel like we're going to save the day and we can save everybody, but you really don't want to take on all the responsibility, mainly because then you're not empowering your client to be able to do this work for themselves. What if they get in this position? You know, again, hopefully that won't happen, but what if it does? Then you want to have at least shared the tools with your client and how they can resolve these issues on their own. Action plans should be comprehensive and concise. Absolutely. They need to be really easy to understand. The client shouldn't have to call you up to try to remember what it is you meant by action item number 1, number 2, etc. It should be very easy to understand. And the best way to do that is when you're writing out the action plan, read it to them and make sure they understand it, not just a nod of the head or, oh yes, I understand it. Have them say it back to you. You know, what does this mean to you? And make sure they understand it. And then it should be concise. So it shouldn't be a long, each item should be short and sweet. This is what has to happen. This is when it has to happen. This is going to do it. Very simple. Create the action plan on your data management system while in counseling. Absolutely. This should be part of your counseling session so that at the end, it's already done. You see what I mean? So as you go through each section of the action plan, which we'll go through in just a little bit, you're making notes of this in your client data management system. And that way, by the end of the session, you can just print it out and have your client sign it. All action plans should be printed and signed by the client and the counselor because it's a contract, right? It's that agreement that the client's going to do their part and you're going to do your part. Make sure that the client receives a copy and that a second copy is placed in the physical file. Again, because this is your accountability log, basically. This is how you hold your client accountable and how your client holds you accountable and how you hold yourself accountable. It can be helpful to break the action plan into categories, absolutely, and we'll talk about those categories in just a minute. List any items that you as a housing counselor would do on the client's behalf, and then list any items that the client will do. So that should be in separate sections, so it's really easy to see. So here are basic components of an action plan: income, debt, credit, budget, counselor activities, and other. And I think the first 4 are pretty self-explanatory. Counselor activities as well, what you're going to do, and your activities could include income, debt, credit, or budget, depending on what your discussion led to. And then other could be like referral to legal aid, referral to something that doesn't specifically refer to increasing income or reducing debt or improving credit or maintaining a budget. All right, so now we're going to do a group exercise, and you will want to pause this and go to the tab for group exercises and then come back. Okay? But your group exercise is going to be tailored around writing down action statements related to your assigned category. So pause this and then come back in a minute. All right, you're back now. Let's look at the sample action plan on page 3 in your book or in your reading section. And I'll hold just a minute to give you time to pull that up. So you'll see at the top of this action plan that it shows items to be done by client. And then it separates, if you scroll down to just below 14, items to be done by counselor. I love the way this separates it. The one that I use does not separate it this way. We have to actually type out, client, da-da-da-da-da, counselor, da-da-da-da-da. So this is really nice that it actually separates it. And if you're able to do that with yours, that would be fabulous. Because then it just makes it really easy. The client knows the first 14 items are mine. The next 2 are my counselors. Of course, it does look a little heavy on the homeowner. But like we said, we're empowering them. So part of that is holding them accountable to do their work. Now let's talk a little bit about referring clients in your community. Who do you refer clients to now? I mentioned earlier legal aid. That's one source. You may refer them to Department of Social Services. That's another source. Make sure you have a very comprehensive list of referral clients, a referral, resources in your community. If you don't have one now, go ahead and start one. Pull out Excel and start one. You also want to get out in your community and meet these people. Establish relationships with these people because these can be referral sources for you as well. So that's a way to bring in more clients to your agency. So keep that in mind. And if you already have one, wonderful. Make sure you're working that referral list. Don't just have it and it's under a book somewhere. You should be periodically touching base with these people, or someone at your agency should be touching base with these people. Again, building those relationships. But also making sure that the person you're referring your clients to is someone who's going to take care of them the way you are. So there's an example if you go to between pages 4 and 6 of a referral form. And this is pretty comprehensive. It talks about, who you're referring to, their contact information. It gives your clients information, just some basic stuff about them, different agencies that you may refer to. And it also has your information at the very beginning. That's on page 4. So good to have that. And you can have your information, of course, pre-printed. If there's someone that you refer to quite often, like legal aid, then you may want to go ahead and have those forms already pre-printed as well, just to save time. And I want you, especially for you new people, but even for the old heads, in your appendix there is a counseling quick start sheet. Oh my goodness, if I had had this when I first started, I just think of the time I would have saved. That would have been so wonderful. But go ahead and take a look at that quick start sheet, and if you're new, I recommend that you print it out, laminate it, have it right by your desk. It just gives you a flow of the process and how to get going. And for those of you who've been doing it a while, sometimes it's good to go back to basics. Make sure you don't miss anything. Make sure you're being thorough in your counseling session. All right, so that's the end of section 2.13 of the foreclosure prevention class. We are done.